America's News Now Nightly News, bringing you the news you need now.
With Charles Azus.
This is Charles Azus with breaking news. Today, July 12, 1804 at 2 p.m., former Secretary of Treasury Alexander Hamilton died after being mortally wounded yesterday by Vice President Aaron Burr. We have ANN anchor Penelope Watson on the scene for the full story. Penelope.
Thank you, Charles. I am here at Weehawken, New Jersey at the west bank of the Hudson River, where yesterday morning a fateful duel occurred between Burr and Hamilton. Burr, Hamilton's longtime political rival, had allegedly challenged him to a duel after being offended by a letter published by Hamilton that expressed his despicable opinion of Burr without providing specifics. Burr then wrote to Hamilton demanding an explanation, which Hamilton did not provide. Hamilton wanted to respond to a specific insult which Burr could not explain. A series of letters over the next few days escalated tensions until arrangements for the duel were made. As I said before, the duel was played out at the west bank of the Hudson River in Weehawken, New Jersey. Here are the details and a replay of what happened during the fight. Both men faced each other and only 2 shots were fired. Hamilton, who shot first, aimed and missed Burr and shot the bullet into the air. We do not know if this was an intentional aim. The second shot, which was played out by Burr, shot Hamilton in the torso area. Hamilton immediately fell to the ground. We do not have specific injuries yet, however, we should know shortly. Back to you in the newsroom, Charles.
Thank you, Penelope. We have prepared a short documentary as a tribute to Hamilton in light of this horrible tragedy to commemorate this great American's life and legacy. Alexander Hamilton was illegitimately born on January 11th, 1757, on the British island of Nevis in the British West Indies. Alexander's mother, Rachel Fawcett, was married to Johann Michael Lavian and had 1 son. Disliking her unhappy marriage, she left her husband and son and went to Nevis, where she met Alexander's father, James A. Hamilton. Unfortunately, in 1765, James left his family because possible charges for divorce, adultery, and desertion would be made against Rachel if she was still with him. Rachel raised her family on the Danish island of St. Croix. Alexander lived a poverty-stricken environment and had a very poor childhood. At a very young age, in 1766, Alexander decided to work as a clerk at one of the St. Croix counting houses to help support himself and his family. He worked for Nicholas Kruger, who was very impressed with Hamilton's eagerness and willingness to work. A couple years later, yellow fever hit his mother, who unfortunately died.
Alexander's life as a child was an unfortunate time period in his life. After his mother died, because he didn't have any direct contact with his father, he was basically orphaned for the rest of his childhood and teenage years. Thomas Stevens, who was working as a merchant in the same firm, adopted him and took care of him until he would go to America. Support from father-like figures in Hamilton's life, such as Thomas and Kruger, really helped Alexander grow and progress. Alexander still continued to work hard in his low-paid job and would until 1773, when Nicholas Kruger and a small group of benefactors paid for his education in America. That year, Alexander attended grammar school in New Jersey and eventually became a student at King's College in New York.
Hamilton was very intelligent and very bright. He came to America with virtually nothing, yet became this national figure and contributed so much to our country. He voiced his opinion to the public at a young age, which shows his confidence and want for authority. Hamilton really grew a lot as a student and really set the foundation for what he would become.
During the 1770s, a time of trouble and tension between the British and our colonies were at an all-time high due to unfair taxes. Hamilton came to the colonies shortly after the Boston Massacre and witnessed the endless protests and violence that spread across our nation like wildfire. Hamilton, in support of the country, published various patriotic essays that helped contribute to the eventual colonial revolution, primarily A Full Vindication and The Farmer Refuted. In 1775, he joined a militia, eventually making his way to George Washington's staff as a lieutenant colonel.
Hamilton was very close to Washington. In fact, Washington became a second father to Hamilton throughout the war. It is, however, very surprising that they both got along so well. Washington was a calm, humble, firm leader, while Hamilton was a strong, forceful, outgoing character, in a sense. However, they became the best of friends and kept that friendship even after Washington's terms in office were over. Hamilton made a big first impression on Washington while in the military, and in turn was chosen by him to be in his first presidential cabinet in the coming years.
During the war, Hamilton met his wife, Elizabeth Schuyler, the daughter of highly esteemed and wealthy Philip Schuyler. They were married on December 14, 1780. This marriage became essential to Hamilton's political well-being. This was because Elizabeth's father was a prominent New York businessman and eventual senator who helped Hamilton's political career. This marriage was the key to Hamilton's political experience and opportunities. Without this marriage, his accomplishments before becoming part of the president's cabinet would not have been appreciated or well known as they are now.
After the war, Hamilton pursued the dual careers of law and civil leadership, founding the First Bank of New York and calling for and eventually attending the Constitutional Convention. A firm believer in strengthening the role of central government, Hamilton, along with other faithful Federalists, James Madison and John Jay, wrote and published the Federalist Papers, a series of anonymous articles promoting the ratification of the Constitution. After the war, Hamilton made his name and figure known throughout the nation. He was intelligent, he had powerful opinions in what he believed in, and instantly became a founding father. Although there were many conventions that campaigned the ratification of the Constitution, the Federalist Papers had the most influence and spread across the country. Hamilton and his collaborators were geniuses and helped ratify those beginnings of our government.
In 1789, Washington became President of the United States and appointed Alexander Hamilton as the first Secretary of the Treasury in his newly formed cabinet. In his years of being Secretary of Treasury, he established the United States Mint, the first national bank of the United States, and an elaborate system of duties, tariffs, and excises. Alexander Hamilton also pushed for industry and manufacturing. In 1795, Hamilton resigned from his position. After resigning, Hamilton continued to advise George Washington politically. When John Adams succeeded Washington for the presidency, Hamilton protested against Adams' policies in published essays. Oh, Alexander. He hated that John Adams with a passion. But in the end, Alexander Hamilton was a great man and contributed so much to our country and helped shape the foundation, a strong foundation that will hopefully endure through many more decades. God bless that man.
All of us here at ANN give our regards to the Hamilton family, and we hope that you enjoyed this special broadcast today. Wait, just in now, Hamilton's wounds and last words. Penelope, back to you.
According to Hamilton's mortician, here is the final prognosis. The bullet ricocheted off Hamilton's second or third rib, fracturing it and caused considerably damage to his internal organs, particularly his liver and diaphragm, before becoming lodged in his first or second lumbar vertebrae. He finally passed away this afternoon, as we all know. His last words were,
"This is a mortal wound, Doctor."
And then to his wife,
"Remember, my Eliza, you are a Christian."
Back to you, Charles.
In other news, it's been 2 months since the Lewis and Clark expedition set out. Where are they now? According to our sources on the frontier, Lewis and Clark were last sighted on the Missouri River near La Charette and are doing well. I hope they play it safe and don't Lewis any men. Until next time, I'm Charles the Zeus for ANN Nightly News.